Hi everybody, I'm Mark from PCN Solutions, and I'm going to give you a brief demonstration on the project and reporting system, which is a part of the IMS system. IMS is short for Internal Management System. It's a unique software platform where we incorporate your corporations or company's infrastructure, software platforms and file structure into one system. Okay, so I'm just going to log on. The login screen is user-friendly, it's basic, with the username, passwords and the language. The platform is then defined upon those three variables. The user themselves has disciplines and security rights, and depending on those rights and discipline is depending what's going to happen at the next stage. Right now I'm logging in with a master user, of course, so I will be able to have full functionality and have full rights to the admin panel. But you can, if you need more information about that kind of thing and design and customization, you can always contact me in the details following this demonstration movie. Okay, without further ado, we're going to log on. And the first thing that we'll do, we will come to an administration menu. In the administration menu, you will notice that the user has login details, the time and the date is logged, and the current process which they're doing. In one effect would be then the client or the project that they're working on. On the left hand side you'll see the modules that we have. We have a users module, we have a clients module, a reports module, time registration and time reporting are both one module, and suppliers and stock control. The modules that we'll be talking about today will be the reporting and projects. So right now we are on the projects side of the admin panel. And if we click the button, you will see everything will be activated in yellow and the relevant buttons will be accessible from this menu. So first of all, we're going to stay with the projects. On the projects, we have a list of disciplines, and when one of these disciplines is double clicked, or you can click the filter button, the relevant projects will then be listed. Now, some of you may or may not know what a discipline is. In certain companies, depending on the size of the company, we have multiple disciplines. For example, in a restoration company, there might be multiple disciplined sectors. Well, in these sectors would be something, for example, like wood restoration, paint restoration, and stone restoration, and so on and so forth. These are classified, as disciplines. In my particular environment, I have software, I have general. General is something where I would do, for example, service contracts and other things. I have also restoration. The list of projects will be listed. I have networking, I have security and data recovery, and these we call disciplines. You can always see it as a certain kind of categorization, but for now we'll stick to the terminology and we will speak about disciplines. Okay, so when I've already showed you when I double click on my disciplines menu, I will get listed on the right hand side the projects which are linked to that particular discipline, or should we say a discipline that has projects. Now, for example, you may notice in software I have Daenerys, IMS, Mainstone, Studios and Tervuren. If I was to double click on restoration, you would also see that Daenerys and Tervuren come under this discipline. The reason for this is a certain project can have multiple disciplines. For example, Daenerys is a large industrial company and they do everything from industrial electricity to roadside workings, and also buildings and restoration and renovation and so on. That means that they can have multiple disciplines listed to a project, and there might be a project that has 4 or 5 of those disciplines linked. But in this case, we're going to stick to software, and we're going to go to the IMS project. You will also notice if I click the reports, I will get a list of my projects, and then I will have the list of the reports. I'll give you more of an in-detail process about how all this works at a later point. But for now, we're going to go access the project direct from the menu. You'll also notice the buttons at the bottom. The buttons are relevant to their boxes. You can add a new discipline. You can also link this discipline to a project. You can also add a new project, or you can select the project. The point of the select button is some people would like to then click and then select. Personally, I'm a double mouse clicker, so because I like to do things quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double click it. Oh, I selected it, in selected, of course. Now it's good that you see this. I'll do it again. You'll see that the following project is not linked with with security. It's not really relevant for now, but it will notify you if it's not linked, and it will give you the choice to link it if you want to. So I'm going to go back to my software. I'm going to double click, and we'll get straight to the projects form. On the project form, you've got the same information, you've got the same information of the user, you've got the user details, the time that they logged in, the project they're working on, and if they are logged into a client and they have the rights and the client module is activated, then you will also get this particular text here. On the top right hand side, we have another list of buttons. We have the standard edit functions that are in the IMS system. Click to edit, and you have cancel and you have save. We have logout, so you can log out back to the login screen, but everything that is open will remain open, so you can always access it at a later point. We can go back to the administration menu, or we can go directly from here to do time registration if the time registration module has been activated on your software platform. We can also exit the software totally, and this will then close down to the desktop. From here you can also select any of your other projects, but we won't be doing it right now because we are going to be showing and viewing the IMS system itself. Okay, on the details section, we have a dossier, we have then more command buttons to do various other things, and we have some basic data and description of the project. Now all this data is manipulable, so we can change this in conjunction with yourself as a client. If you would say, for example, yeah, but I have more fields and more relevant data, this is not a problem. We can add in new data, new fields into the system at your command. This is really easy for us to do, and we take it as part of our customization process. Now, on the left-hand side, you will see we have a dossier. Now, there's a reason for this dossier, so I'm going to give you a description of it. Now, in most logic behind, or should I say, most logic behind a software platform is to remove the file system. Now, this is the correct way of creating and programming software, but I found in the real world, in a large office environment where you're working with lots and lots of files, and this can be incorporated into a small company as well. And the idea is that it should be incorporated into a small company, given the prices that we offer our system at. Now, the dossier itself incorporates all of the files that you deem part of your project. This can be anything from Word files, Excel files, to PowerPoint presentations or AutoCAD presentations of or blueprints from a site. Everything is a file. Now, the point of the IMS is that we take all of those files and we put it into a structure that is linked underneath the logical naming system, keeping the workflow. In this case, is our project. So depending on whatever project we are in, is depending on the files that we're going to have here. And you'll see already the folder system has changed because by this project I have different files. Now, as I was saying about the principle behind creating a software platform, we tend to remove the file structure to minimize the amount of files that you need. The real world is it's not. The real world, from my own experience, project leading and management, we have to deal with files and folders on a daily basis. And if you leave it to an IT company or an internal IT company, that company in return creates a structure and you have to follow it. But there is then no connection between the data, the file structure, and the software system. That is where the IMS comes in. We link everything together. On an external manner, we can link between other platforms using their file system, and we can link all the loose files. Now this is a key thing. I found myself having to make offers in the past and found myself routing through directories and various other structures that have been created by other people and wasting at least 30 to 40 minutes getting all of that information together, which in any scale is a waste of time and effort. What I believe in is you should be able to click a button and you should be able to get that information immediately. Hence, we do this. Now in the file system, you can also create a new folder from within the IMS itself, and this will automate everything that you need. So if I add a new folder now, and we call that folder test, and I create it, you will also see that you get a message that if you want to add some files into it. Oh yeah, I'm a project leader and I'm, I've just come back from the IMS project and I have some new reports and new information. So I'm going to click yes. For the purposes to show you that we can pretty much work with any file, I'm just going to go to my downloads for an example, and I'm just going to select a zip file. Okay. You see that my test folder has been created and my zip file is now in between. Now, the manipulability of this structure is very simple. You click on a folder and you click view. It opens that folder. You can see the new folder that's been created, and it will open it in that part of the structure. You can do this any way you want to. If it has multiple folders and you have subfolders, you just click it. And you can see that it opens it up in the correct place and you get all the files that are in there. Okay, so you can see I imported a zip file. Well, what's it going to do with that zip file? Well, anything you want. It's based on the default application that opens that particular file. So if I click it now, you will see it will open it under, in this case in my system, I have a WinRAR, which I use for basic zip files or anything else, but it will open it in that default program and you will see everything that's in there. Okay, so that's a basic layout of our dossier and file structure system that's incorporated into the IMS. We will now move on to the next part of this, which is then an little email button. Now, the point of this email button is, for an example, if we have a file or files that we would like to send to the contact from that particular project, then all we have to do is go over to our file system. I'm going to just select anything in there, for example, this little PDF, and I'm going to click email. It'll first ask you if you want to attach this file, just to make sure that you are correct in the file that you've clicked. Just say yes. And now you'll see it opens up directly in your default emailing system. Also with the signature, which has been coded into the system, and this is unique per client, of course. And you'll also see that the file itself has been attached with the file name and a default of attachment. Simple. No routing through directories, no going to find stuff, no adding attachments. You just continue to work within your project system. And as simple as that. You can add in another email address here, whatever you want. In principle, it will take your default contact, which is explained on the contacts form. I will go to that in a short while. From here in the middle, we have then another selection of buttons. We have the new projects, a new report, adding photos, which you can see is grayed out for now, and also scan. The scan, you can scan documents directly into your system and it will place them in this folder here. I'm not going to show you the functionality. It's pretty much the same as the dossier system, but obviously you won't be able to see the scanner working. Now the Synchronize button, that's a little bit different. What is the Synchronize button, or sync for short? Well, the sync button, that is for example, if you're a project leader and you go off to a project and you've driven 2 hours to get to the project, and you've got all the files, for example, photos, and in normal procedures, you would take your photos, you would spend your time there, you would get in your car and you'd drive back. So before you've actually done anything or anything at all, you've already done 4 hours. 2 hours there, 2 hours back. On principle, that's half of the average working day that's gone in time. Before you can even start, and let's just say you can even start on that particular project yet with those details, who knows, that's dependent on the company. What this will do is, the IMS has a system that links with the Microsoft OneDrive. We are open to work with other online cloud storage systems. If we do the research and we say that it can be done, we will do it. It's that simple. But let's say for now we're working with Microsoft OneDrive, and the project leader, he goes after the project, he takes his photographs, maybe with his phone or something, and he just opens up the OneDrive and sends it. All that the guy at the office has to do is press synchronize, and all the photos that he has uploaded to that particular project will be in the database and already linked. That means from the moment the project leader has taken the photographs and put it in the project folder in the OneDrive, it's finished. The guy at the office can start working on the report and the demonstration or whatever else it is that he's working on. Simple, straightforward, without all of the hassle in between, and saving time, which again I cannot pronounce it enough. This is the point of what the IMS is about. It's about saving your company time. Now the project pictures button, I'm probably going to show you what the add photos does first before I go on to that, because then it'll become a little bit more relevant. Adding files, again, it's like the scanning from the scanner, or adding a new folder and adding files in there. It's the same principle, so I don't need to show you that. Delete speak for itself, it's deleting the project. So what I want to do now is, I'm going to use the edit function. I'm going to go into edit mode, and you will see that you will have optional fields, required fields, and fields that are either locked or haven't had their data filled in. This is again a standard within the IMS. If it's a field that is required and you haven't filled it in, it will turn red, so you cannot make mistakes basically. You can add in a company logo if you require it. It's not obligatory, but it's optional. I've found that some companies like to express themselves within the software packet. Anyway, we're going to go on now to adding the photos. Again, the whole point of this will become logical at a later point. So I'm going to go to add photos. I said, would you like to create a new folder, or no, I would just like to select an existing directory. I'm going to create a new folder. Oh, sorry, I already created the folder earlier on, of course, which is the test folder. But I will create a new one, and we will call it test 1, just to see that you can see the system working. Okay, use. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to totally add the blue, any kind of picture. What can we take? Well, we'll take this line of photos here. It'll import them into the system, and voila, it's done. Now we come to the point where I was going to explain, after importing the photos, we have the project pictures. What happens when you come to the project pictures? You come to a form where it will list, if you have hundreds of pictures, it will list them all in the tabs, and we can have more tabs and more pictures. Till now, we found that this is more than enough for most people. On the left-hand side, you have the project folder listing. You saw in when I went to import my photos, I had a list. I had ASIC, I had IMS, I had test, and I had wood. And then I added the new one, test 1. And there you go. You can see the pictures that I added in here. Now this is to keep an organization of all of your pictures and keeping them linked to a project, which again keeps the workflow in order so that we can work smoothly and cleanly in a nice software environment. Now at this section you can do as you wish. For an example, if we click on this photo here and we wanted to edit the picture and make some changes to it, we could just click edit the picture. And then we could do all our editing. We could add in some lines pointing out to these nice clouds here, for an example, or pointing out to this building and expressing it with a circle and giving some information. And you close it. And there's no need to do any more importing or anything because it's already working from that photo, with that photo, sorry, from the origin point where it's been imported to. This becomes relevant at a later point when we go to the reporting system. This in return will then be entered into the report and used as part of that report. You can also from here edit the picture details. Now the point of this being is here we can add in a user-friendly picture name, so you can always find it back with the search functions, and it just makes it more relevant to yourself. You'll see in most cases, although here I have named the picture, but mostly when it comes from a camera, it normally has a digits like 5, 6, 7, 8, 5, 4, and so on. The date of creation will be registered, the dimensions of the picture are registered, the picture ID in the database is registered, and the project where you linked it to. And also you can see here from the link, this is the place. You can also open it from here, so you can go directly to the picture as and when needed. Okay, now the relevancy of the information here, this is actually the text that you will put into the picture at the stage of the report. Now this is just some predefined text that I've put into it to show you what's going to happen at a later point. Okay, so we close this now. I'm going to close down the project pictures, and I'm going to click save, and now we're ready to go on to the next stage. You will see here I have a listing of my project reports, which is the next step. We will explain this when we go on to the reporting system, but before then I'm going to go on to the context so that we are done with the project's form. Now on the context list you can open up the context, you can add a new context, you have a default context, and then the basic details listed here. Now if I double click this, I come directly over to the contacts form. On the contacts form you will see here, because I have the clients module as well, that my clients will be listed, then the contacts that link to that client will also be listed. Also have a project section, and you will see here if I click the projects, then you will list then the contacts from that project. So if there's multiple contacts, it will show all of those contacts. It will also show which one is the default contact. At this part we can say if this client is linked, if this contact is linked to a client, if it's linked to a project, which discipline he is linked to, or it can be linked to a client and a project and a discipline. The rest of the details again is basic data, and this can be changed to suit the needs of your company. Here we can also email directly. It will pop up a little window to offer you the choice to add in files to it if you want to, and so on. You can also do a contact ID. You may have noticed on the admin form that there was a picture of the logged in user, and that is registered at this point here. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my projects. That is about the contacts. Very simple, easy to use, and linked, automatically linked and created. Here I have a list of my reports. Now from here I can click the view button, and I can go, it'll ask me if I want to go directly to the project or I want to open up the report. Now I'm not going to show you the report because that will be shown when we're in the reporting side. You can then open the report directly from here, or you can delete the report if you want to. You can also then go directly to the specific place where all the reports under this project, under this discipline, in the report section. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my project system, as is this one that I'm going to be showing you, and in this case I'm going to use the double click and not the open because I'm lazy. There we go, we've loaded all of the pictures. Now when we come here, we come to a title page. This is because I have a pre-made report, and this report is then based on a template with a page template and an information template. Now, a little bit of a brief description about the template. The template is also an optional module that is activated in the system if you decide that you want to have this template as a reporting system. I have here various different templates. If I click on the edit function here, it will open up then the template, and any one of these parts can be manipulated and changed, or you can have a totally different layout. It's totally irrelevant, but these are designed to the specific needs of your company. As you see, if I go, for example, I'm going to edit so I can change it. I go to ASIC and I go edit. You will see that I have a totally different template. Voila. Okay, so going to glance cancel. Now here we have then the information template, which is then the second page that gets inserted, and this is data. These are all optional details lines. For example, if I click edit, you'll see it lights up in green. Green is then optional, and yellow is then required. So if I remove this and I click save, you will see that it will light up the relevant field in red. So if I now then just I can show you this in another way. I'm going to remove all my data here because this also is not a problem. And we have a template and a data table that inserts this automatically for you. You just click the button and it will fill in all of the relevant fields. This again is then put together, and the data and information is based upon your company and your needs. Okay, so that's the basic template. You will see how this is represented in the report afterwards, but we're going to go further on now into the headers and titles. And if we come to our headers and titles, you'll see I have got a whole list of headers. Now, I don't know if you've seen the report that's on the website, embedded into the website. You will notice, you would have seen these headers in one of the reports. These are pretty much basic headers that we use in the reports at the moment. So these will be changed over time, but it's to give you an idea about what PCN is and what the IMS is and what we can do for you. Now you will notice on certain ones, like for example the login, I have also a list of titles, and I have title text. Now in the titles I can have multiple titles, I can have as many as I want, so I can have, for example, have one header and then 50 titles. It all depends on how I want to let my documents be seen. It's all about design. Again, I haven't myself fully used every design capability in the system because it's totally dynamic. It's only limited to what you can do with your imagination, basically, and you'll get more of an idea of how this will come together as we give you an explanation. So I'm just going to slip back over to the headers now and give you a little brief detail about the buttons we have here. You have a choice. You can print the header, or you can not print the header. You might say, okay, well this is just, I want to see this as a reference point, so I could call this header reference point 1. But I'll take the tick mark out, and then will be listed the title. And it will also say, well, I don't want to print a title, I just want text. I just want the text. And I want to use the text, I want to have the text go at this reference point. But now we're just going to use logical naming. So we say, okay, this header, I want to print this header. And I don't want the title to be printed, so I've put no title for now, and I tick this off here so it doesn't print it. But I want this text to come underneath the header. So the next thing along is then the font. Now in the font, we have a small little menu where you can set the alignment of the font, and you can also set up the font itself. So we can say which font family we want to use, what we need to put style, what size it's going to be, what color it's going to be, and so on and so forth. And there we go. Voilà, that's done. The arrows here, you'll see we have a little arrow pointing up and a little arrow pointing down. And if we click the arrow down, it will then move the header downwards. It's that simple, and we can move the header upwards. The point being is you might create a header later on and you say, okay, but I don't want the header there. I want it in the beginning, so you just put it all the way in the beginning. So it gives you the full feeling over you have control over your report. The same goes for then the title section. You can move your title up and down. You have an index as to where the title is. So you always get a good, friendly feeling that you've got control over your system. The same goes here for the title. You've got a whole list of titles here. obviously you will put in your own titles. You have your own naming system for your titles and so on. If you, for example, wanted to add a new title and you would call it Joe's title, for example, whatever. In this case, for example, we'll just call it test title, like so, and we click save. You will see that it comes in this list here. So you can always save it and you can always reuse it at a later point, and it's basically automated. So the first letter you put in will bring it up, and the second letter, and so on and so forth. Okay, so for now I'm just going to put this back to what it was, no title, and I'm not going to print it. That's just a reference for myself. And you can also set up the font for the title. You can set the position of it and everything like that. What is also a nice thing, in the text side, you have formatting. So you can add in any type of format. You can add in numbering if you want to. You can say, okay, I don't want numbering here. I want bullets here. And I want this color to be red, and so on. So you can really have a great feeling of manipulation within each individual unique section of the reporting side. You know, you can do anything you want here, and again, like I say, you don't know the possibilities of what you can do within the actual reporting system. Again, are limitless. It's just down to what you want to do with the system. So I'm going to remove my bullets, I'm going to remove the numbers, and I'm going to put the text back to black, and then we're all back to normal again. Okay, you can add in new pages, a new title area. So if you were to do this, it would add a new title and a new text point. And you are not limited to how many titles and how much text you can have in here. In basic principle, in this here, which I'll show you on another report, you can have A4 page of text just in each box. So you can have a lot of text in each box. There's really no limitation on the amount of data that you can have in there until now. Okay, so that's your headers and that's your titles. If we move further onto the right hand side, we have a table designer. We have our create button, which will create the report. We have again our folder button, which will take us directly to the report side of the dossier. We also can add in new headers from here. So we have a list of our headers. And we can also add a new header. For an example, if I click add a new header and I call it, I don't know what test ones I've got in now, we'll call it test 2. It will add that header and it will automatically think, okay, you've added a new header, that's because you want to use it, and it will add it into your selected headers. If you click finish now, you will see that it adds the heading in there. You can also double click. We have a hidden function of a double click behind it, and you can edit that header again. And I didn't want to call it test 2, I wanted to call it test 3, and you will see it will update it here. So I'm just going to remove this header from it because I don't need it in my report. I removed it, finish, voila, that's good. Now you also got the view button, which is logical. You can view the reports. The report gets basically shot out into a PDF and into an editable Word document, which you can edit at a later point. So you can manipulate the report as and when you wish in any manner, in having then the full extensivity of Word itself. We also have then the numbering function, which is again a fully automated system. It's literally a tick mark, and it will have indexing. And I don't know how many of you know about how annoying the indexing can be if you've got a very large report. It's not that it's an impossible task, but it is time consuming, and it's for me, I call it fuffling around. This basically will do that for you, and this is as much work as you need to do. That's it. Click no numbering, click numbering, done. The template, well, that is then the title page. If I click this, it will remove it, and you will see there's no more template. and then if I click it again, you will see the template comes back. Default, when you create a new report, you don't have a template title page, which I will go show you later on when I go to show you how to create the report. It's very simple and straightforward process. Okay, a brief description about all those buttons. If we go now on to the next part, which is also a pretty exciting part, which gives you the possibility to manipulate the project pictures, which I showed you in the beginning when we imported them into your project. Now you see here I've got a list of all of my pictures that some of you may or may have not seen embedded into the website in one of my reports. This is exactly the same report. Now you see here that my first one, which is my logon form. At the moment I've said, no, well, I want this form logically speaking in the top of the page, because it's the first thing that you do, you log on, and I want it to command by the header. The second part of the process is then the administration menu. Okay, well then, okay, it's also part of the logon process. I've kept my logic behind it. You log on, you come to administration. So I have my titles, and there you will find them. If I click on my header logon, here's my administration projects, administration clients, administration reports, and that is exactly the same here. They are under the logon header, and this is then the titles. And I've just basically said to the system that I want this one to be administration projects, because that is the first one, and I want this one to go to my administration clients, because that is clients, and so on, so on, so on. Okay, you also get a little an arrow for later reference, so that you know this is the point that it will come out on the document. It will come out under the logon, it will come out under here. You never have to think of where it's going to go. That's where it will be. You'll also see an alignment that is controlled by the picture button here. You say, okay, I want the picture to align left or align right. If you click align like this, you will then get the referring reference here. Okay, just going to close it down. Okay, same principle with the arrows up and down. That is then for the positioning. I want to put this one in first place, or I want to put it in second place, or I want to put it all the way down the bottom. And if we go back over to the left-hand side, you can see I have here a few other buttons. This is for the picture manipulation. Default is always set to its correct angle and position as a picture. I can also then turn it 90 degrees, or I can turn it 80 degrees, 180 degrees, sorry, my apologies. Now, basically that will just tip it totally upside down. With this picture, I'm not going to do it. I will add in another picture with the earlier process we imported. So I'm going to put this back to default. And I can also group the pictures. If I've got 4 or 5 pictures which I want to group together, I would group this one, I would group that one, I would group that one. Not going to do it right now. Obviously, I've got another report and I'm going to show you those. And you also have the possibility to insert it as a larger picture. You say, okay, I want this to take up half the page, and I want to have text underneath it. Fine, no problem. Set it as a larger picture, and this is the text that it's going to put underneath it. There you are. That's simple. From this, you're going to see a really beautiful report, and that it's done very, very quickly. For now, I'm going to leave the numbering on so that you can see how easy it is to have the indexing, and then on the second report I will print out. I will take it off so you can see how it works. It's so quick, so easy. Okay, I'm also going to turn off all of the security messages, which is stating about the fact the report has already been created. Because it does control the folder to see if there are reports there. We don't want our report to be written over if it's already been edited at a later stage outside of the IMS system. For obvious reasons, you'll go over somebody else's work if we're working in an online version of the IMS. You can also make the document visible while it's reporting. While you're coding terminology there. While you're developing the document, you might want to see it while it's reporting, and you want to see what's happening and so on. We made that capability. Otherwise, you will get in the middle a compiling form to show you what's happening. Now the reason why we've made it like this also is because if you are compiling out to a Word document, of course Word is separate to our system. We send commands to Word, and you start playing around with the Word document while it's compiling. The logic behind that is it's not going to be very healthy, and it's certainly not going to be happy, because we will still be throwing stuff and data out to that document, and you'll be playing around with it. So you have to take responsibility. Hence, if we click this button, you will then click this tick mark, and again, you will get this window, and it will just give you a brief description, so that you can accept the fact that you understand what will happen if you play with the report while it's compiling. I'm going to turn off all the messages. You can do this from the one button. I'll take them both off, and they will both become highlighted. Okay, now back to the top, the table designer. Now you'll notice here I have a header called modules, and I also have here a title called new additions. What will the table designer do? The table designer will give you the possibility to insert table charts into your document, but completely automated and designed through our system. If I click the table designer button, you will see we'll get a message. Would you like to open the tables from within your existing report data? This will mean if you already created some tables and designs that you're already using, it will take you straight to the data that you are using. If you have created a new report and there is no existing data, you will have a default table where your default tables and designs are stored. They are not changed. You can edit them, but they are your templates that you use for other reports. If I click yes, I'll be using only the tables that are linked to this particular report. So I'm going to go ahead now and click yes. And you will see that here, I'm just going to make this a little like this. I have the list of my tables. You see, nice and neat. Voila. I'm just going to close this a second. I did something. Okay, back to the table designer. Voila. Okay. Yeah, I'm working in the background as well. So we have here, as I was mentioning about my list of headers, I have here my table, which is called modules, and I have my header, which is called modules. And I will make this a little bit more obvious for you when we go to the report side. I have various designs, and you can see I have here called new additions, and you will also see I have here new additions. This is to make the insertion point and process user-friendly, and easy. Now you can see here we're not limited to our tables. We can have one single column, one single row, and we can put in information into this. Or we can have 3 columns and 1 row, or we can have one with lots of rows and 3 columns, or you can have one, for example, with price listings, and you could name one of your columns product, one the type, one the price, one the amount, and one total, and it speaks for itself. Now it's again really easy, user-friendly. I want to create a new table. Again, it's controlled by the save function. If I don't add anything in and I want to save it, it will let me know, hey, you haven't finished your process. But I'm going to click cancel now because I don't need to create a new table. And then we go back to our default tables. At the top, you will also see still that you are logged in. And you are connected to the software discipline, or whichever discipline you are personally logged into. And you will see you are connected to the project IMS. And the current report that you are on is the projects report. The colors of all of the column titles and everything can be adjusted by the palette. Simple Windows Explorer palettes, user-friendly, and you can define your own custom colors. The columns, you can add up to 5 columns. The limitation is down to 5. Due to the page size, which is A4, or the size of your template and the borders. Obviously, if you have no borders in your template, you can probably put 7 or 8 columns in your tables, but that we do at design time when we're setting up the system in your company. If you say, okay, well, I have this template and we don't have borders, then we will set up a special template for that particular scenario. But again, those are things we can speak over with our new clientele or with our projects that we are personally working on. So that's the table designer. Now, I did mention about the titles and the header name. Now, basically, I have my tables in there, and I have one table called New Editions and one table called Modules. Now, for demo purposes, I'm going to leave this little tick mark off. I'm going to put it on now, and I'm going to click it. I'm going to leave it off. I don't want this to be printed out now. I just want it there as a reference point. I haven't finished working on that particular section yet, but I still want the titles to print out. So I want the table design new additions to be inserted, and I want them to be inserted at this point. So I just add in the name here, and the system knows it has to print the new additions table at that point. Okay, so that was a little bit of a description over the table designer, its functionality, and how we get it to go into the document. So I'm going to save the document now, and then I'm going to create it. And what will happen when I create it now, we won't get any pop-up messages, obviously, because I've turned them off. Voila. And I'll just pop it up, and here you will see that the report is being shot out at hyperspeed. Here we go. Look, indexing, numbering, the pictures, all the pictures, text, headers, titles, everything is being shot out to this report, and you can see that I have got my tables in there. You see we have a beautiful report. Here we have the data template where you put in your details, company details. At the top, the first one, we have our template page, and then we have our table of contents, which is then the numbering and indexing. You see how simple it was. I just put my tick box on, and here we have it. I'm going to show you the report also without the indexing, so you can see it's quite literally a tick button. Okay, we go down. You can see now in my headers, now I've got my objectives. So I've got what's the IMS, the integration of the IMS, and how do we work. You go further on then, and you come down to the finishing part of my description about the company, and you come onto your first picture, and as you can see, I've got my logon. And the logon was the header I was speaking about earlier on, and then we have our titles: administration projects, administration clients, and then the corresponding picture and the corresponding text with bullets and all. And you see how simple this is. And again, all this text, this can all be saved as a default format inside your text options within your title text or your picture text. So you see, lovely, nice, clean, friendly looking report. There's also the header insertion and the footer insertion that is also coded into it. And we can change this to your requirements. You can have it with or without this footnote, the footer and header. So I click back on the document. There you can see I'm just giving a description over the IMS. This is the report by the IMS for the IMS. It speaks for itself. It's telling you about itself. It's telling you what it can do, and then it's also giving you itself in a report. Honestly said, I'm very, very, very happy with the way the system does all of this, and the fact that it does this so quickly and easily. And then here you can see the table. By the new editions title, you can see this because of the indexing. It's 12.2, hence it is a title. It has a point on the end. And that is then the table that it inserts. One single column, one single row, and with the data inside. and then you can see the relevant picture from the table designer here and here. Now you can see that, and I did say earlier on I had one called modules, and just to show you it adding the table in, and we'll also show you taking the indexing, table of contents, numbering away. So we go back to the report now, and I'm going to just put a little tick mark in here, and normally if I am correct, when I come to print a report, you will notice there will be a header, modules, and you will see the module table designer, which should be this table, inserted into the document. And we're also going to take off the numbering so that we can show you how easy it is to remove the numbering. And now I'm going to create it again, view it, voila, and you see already I've got different layouts with my headers and my titles. And again, you can see for yourself how fast this is all going. And voila, and there is the extra modules table. Whoop, shot straight in at the modules point, and all I had to do is tell it where to go by putting in the name of the table into either the header section or by the title section. I can put, for example, the module name in the title section, and it will put it by the title and not by the header. It's dynamic without a doubt. You will also see that there is no more indexing. There's no indexing at all, and you'll see I've already got different layouts. Now these are just predefined fonts that I've put in there that's stored in the table. But when you use numbering and indexing, Word has a default format and it cannot be adjusted. It's quite literally as is. If you want to use without numbering, normally you can do whatever you want. You can change the text, the color of the text, the size of the text, purely manipulable. You see here I've got it in purple, how do we work, and so on, so on, so on. So simple it is. And that is then pretty much the reporting side of the system. So you've seen everything from the reporting side, the project side, up until the reporting side. I'm going to show you a couple of other reports. You have the option of selecting new project here, or you have an option of selecting the reports here. If I do it from here, I can just click it, voila, it will load all the necessary pictures. And then you'll see here that this is the client invoicing section. I have here again what's my IMS and various other things, but here you'll notice the headers are different. So basically it loads the data relevant to that report. Now I'm going to show you it from the other angle. If we go, I'm going to put it back onto the project system, and there you can, just so you can see that I'm back on my project system, headers are correct. I'm going to go back to the admin section. Now, wherever you are in the system, wherever you go in the system always knows where you have been. For example, if I log out and I log back in, and I go to my IMS projects, now it doesn't have to load all of the data again, so you don't have any load time. If I go into my reports, and I, for example, I'm going to take another one so I can show you then the difference. I'm going to take the client system. And you see, I've got my client system up. I'm going to go back to the admin menu. I'm going to do it again. Voila. No loading. Fast as you need it to be. And if I decided to go back to the project, again, you can see no loading. This basically makes it so everything remains in memory, and you don't have to remember it, and you don't have to go searching for it. You can just go back to the project or the report where you were at that particular moment. Now what we're going to do is here, I'm going to go and show you just briefly the other designs of other reports. If I just click on, double click on my IMS project, you'll see I have my other reports. I can show you the one from, for example, a client. He's allowed me to do this in the rights of sales and everything, so I have all the rights necessary to use his information and data. You will see here that it's in a different language for all those who don't speak Dutch or don't know the Dutch language. If you're English, probably. You will see here this is basically camera security, access control, alarm control and fire detection. And then you can see here then the descriptions of those items with our bullets and our numbering. So I'm going to show you this report now. I'm going to turn off the messages and I'm going to click the report. Just going to bring it into the foreground, and you can see it's got a different templates, just shooting out all of the data, organizing it all, and you can see that here I've got grouped pictures. And this is what I wanted to tell you about earlier on, the group picture option. While he's finishing. Right. Okay, so that is another nice report. Again, using the template I showed you earlier on. And if we go further down, we can see our pictures being grouped. And this is the group option. If I go to my selected pictures, you will see here, excuse me, that these pictures are grouped together, and they're grouped together in the same title area, and that will automate them into the Word documents, and it will auto size them into the size of the template of the Word document that you have. Again, click of a button, user friendly, no messing around. And that is an example of another type of report. And to show you a totally different type of report, I'm going to go back to my admin page, and I'm going to take projects service contracts, and I'm going to my report service. Or you can see that I have here different headers, and again it's in the Dutch language. You can see here I've also got text formatting and various other things on here, and this is purely a service contract. So not only can we make offers, or we can make presentations, we can make any kind of service contracts or calculations. I mean, again, we are not limited to what the reporting system can do. And if I click create, you can see here that I'm creating a nice service contract. Again, companies change, companies' ideas change, and they might say, okay, but I don't want my service contract to look like that anymore. No problem. You've got all your data. All you have to do is change the layout. Really, really simple. And this is what you get at the click of a button. I mean, that literally took seconds to print out. Amazing. And we, again, like I say, you do have the option, you can view the PDF, which is also automatically created. Voila, here we have the PDF. And in the PDF, you can see that the indexing works. Voila, the indexing works. So all the way through the process, we have continued to keep the workflow, we have continued to keep it dynamic, and we have continued to keep it smooth and to work at a speed that is, for this day and age in an office environment, necessary for saving money. And the more time that we can save you, the more you have that extra money that's saved in time to go to other places, to go towards, I don't know, your yearly expenses, towards maybe putting on special things for your employees. I mean, again, it's unique for each company and what they do with the time that they save. The basic idea is that we can save that time for you. And we are also dynamic. We have the capability to manipulate this system into your system without any issue whatsoever. Well, anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching this. Sorry for any mistakes that I might have made in there, but this for me is my first demonstration. I hope you liked it, and I hope that you come back to watch some more when I give you a demonstration on our work order applications, on our client and invoicing systems, and on the time registration system. Thank you very much, and have a good night.